Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're diving into Guyanese politics
Ooh.
and looking at this idea of a good governance dividend proposed by Aubrey Norton,
Okay.
the leader of the opposition party PNCA-PNU.
Right.
And we're going right to the source for this deep dive, using Norton's own statement to really unpack what he actually means.
Now, is this something that's connected to the elections coming up? Because I know...
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely tied into that. Norton's been pretty vocal criticizing the current PPP government and their whole cash grant program.
Right.
He's calling it a reactive measure, more about the political pressure than anything else.
Interesting.
And to make things even spicier, the opposition's claiming the PPP basically lifted this whole idea from their own master plan.
Wow.
But here's where it gets really interesting. This good governance dividend that Norton's proposing, it's not just a one-time thing.
Okay.
He's talking about a minimum annual payment of $100,000 to most or all Guyanese citizens.
Right. So that's a pretty big difference, right? We're not talking about just like a one-off cash grant.
Exactly.
This is something that's supposed to be sustained.
Yeah, it's a whole other way of looking at government assistance and how wealth gets spread around.
Right. And it makes you wonder, where's all this money going to come from?
Well, Norton says by tackling corruption and those inflated contracts head-on,
Okay.
Guyana could actually unlock a ton of savings and generate some serious revenue.
So he's talking about tighter management of the books,
Exactly.
auditing those oil companies to recoup any unauthorized spending, potentially even revisiting the 2016 oil sharing agreement.
Revisiting that agreement. Now, for our listeners who might not be super familiar with that,
Yeah.
can you give us a little background on that?
So that 2016 oil sharing agreement, it's been a bit of a hot topic. Some people argue that Guyana got kind of a bad deal.
Ah, I see.
So there's this whole debate swirling around whether they're actually getting a fair share of the profits from their oil.
So Norton sees renegotiating that deal as a key part of funding this whole good governance dividend thing.
Absolutely. And it doesn't stop there.
Yeah.
He's also super focused on making sure the Natural Resource Fund is being invested wisely for the long haul.
Now, remind us again, what exactly is the Natural Resource Fund?
Sure. Think of it like a giant savings account for the country.
Okay.
Specifically for all the money they make from natural resources, which right now is mostly oil.
Right.
The idea is to manage that wealth responsibly, invest it smartly, and make sure everyone benefits both now and in the future.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And it's not just about saving either. He wants to make sure that when that money is going out the door to people, that it's done right, efficiently and fairly.
So basically trying to avoid any chance of corruption seeping in.
Exactly. And he even wants to tap into those windfall revenues whenever oil prices are high.
Windfall revenues. Okay, so what does that actually mean?
So it's kind of like, when you get a sudden unexpected chunk of money, like you're selling something, let's say you make these amazing crafts by hand, and suddenly everyone wants them.
Okay.
So you're able to sell them for way more than you normally would. That's your windfall.
Ah, I see.
Norton's saying, hey, when oil prices are through the roof,
Yeah.
let's take those extra profits, those windfalls, and make sure they go right back to the Guyanese people.
So it's like riding the wave of the oil market and using those booms to benefit the citizens directly.
Exactly. That's the idea.
Yeah.
But of course, with any big, ambitious plan like this, you're going to have some people who aren't so sure.
Right. Yeah, for sure. There are always going to be challenges and criticisms. So what are some of the big question marks surrounding this good governance dividend?
I think one of the biggest ones is, can corruption really be tackled that effectively?
Because that's a big assumption, right? To free up that much money.
Yeah, corruption's not something you just fix overnight. It's complex. It's ingrained in systems.
It's like trying to change the course of a river.
Exactly. And then there's another question, is that $100,000 per citizen per year, is that really sustainable over the long term?
Especially with oil prices being so unpredictable. What happens if those windfall revenues dry up?
Right. It's like betting on winning the lottery every year. It'd be nice.
But you wouldn't want to bank on it.
Exactly. And we have to think about the bigger picture, too. How would this affect Guyana's overall economic development?
Because some people would argue that putting that money towards things like education, infrastructure, healthcare, those are more sustainable long-term solutions.
It's a balancing act, for sure.
All right.
Do you provide immediate relief, or do you invest in the future?
It's like choosing between that amazing vacation right now or putting the money away for retirement. Both have their perks, but completely different long-term impacts.
Perfect analogy. And we can't forget the whole political side of things either.
Yeah.
This is an election year, after all. Promises like this, they tend to get people's attention.
Especially when there's potential for, an extra $100,000 in your pocket.
Exactly. So it's this whole dance, right? Appealing to voters while also trying to manage expectations.
So it all boils down to whether Norton's good governance dividend is truly going to be this game changer he claims, or if it's just a well-timed political tactic. It's a question all Guyanese citizens got to be asking themselves. And that's kind of where we want to leave you today with some food for thought.
Yeah.
We've dug into this good governance dividend, the good, the bad, the political side of it all. Now it's up to you guys to decide what you think.
Yeah, imagine for a second you're just living your life in Guyana and bam, an extra $100,000 every year. What changes for you?
Right. Does that change how you look at the government? Does it actually give you more opportunities?
It could be huge for some people.
Right.
Like actually lifting them out of poverty. Maybe they can finally afford better health care or education, or even start their own business.
Totally. But then there's the flip side.
Right.
Is it really sustainable? What happens down the line? Are we just trading short-term relief for long-term problems?
Exactly. Will people become too reliant on these government handouts? Will other important public services suffer because of it?
It's a tough call, right? It's that classic dilemma of splurging now versus investing in the future.
Totally. And that's exactly why it's so crucial for everyone to really understand what's at stake here. Don't just get caught up in the excitement of free money. Think about what's best for Guyana in the long run.
So as you're thinking about this good governance dividend, ask yourself, is this really a path to a brighter future for Guyana? Or is it just a risky political gamble dressed up in shiny wrapping paper?
Right, because there's no easy answer here. It's complicated.
Exactly. And that's what makes these deep dives so interesting. It's not about us giving you all the answers. It's about giving you the tools to ask the right questions.
To start those conversations.
Exactly. So keep digging deeper, keep questioning, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.